Yes, it is that time again to support WRUU through your vote in the Connect Savannah Best of Savannah poll. It's easy. Go to the Connect Savannah website, www.connectsavannah.com, and click on the Best of Savannah voting image. Read the instructions and then scroll down and click the image labeled Media. Vote for WRUU in the Best Local Radio category.
You are listening to WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with a global soul. Our theme music is a clip of Summer Nights by the Eric Jones Trio. It's provided by our friend Mark Chesanout, who plays with the Eric Jones Trio every Thursday and Sunday at Good Times Jazz Bar downtown.
Hey everyone, welcome to Arts on the Air. This is Tamara Garvey and I'm here with Ashley Havy. Welcome. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
You did actually, yeah.
We probably should have cleared that before we started. Welcome. And she runs, her business is called Pashley Pottery. I wanted to ask you first off, is the name, does it significance?
It was kind of a few people in high school. I had this one friend who would call me Pashley or Pashy, and it's just, I like the alliteration that had with pottery, like the two P's, so it just kind of
it worked great.
Became a thing.
Okay, I want to read a bit, a line from Ashley's Instagram. It says, "Making beautiful things for people to enjoy." And then from her website, she said, from dinner shared with a significant other on handmade tableware to a cup of morning coffee with your best friend, this connection and time spent is what I enjoy bringing to other people through the handcrafted pieces of art I send off into the world. Which I thought was a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks.
And you said that you started working in ceramics when you were studying at Armstrong, and you started in 2012, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah. I liked, first of all, that it puts you in like a certain time period of Savannah that it was Armstrong then,
yeah,
which I love.
Yeah. I think I was like the last graduating class. I graduated in 2015, the winter, so I think that might have been the last or like
before
one of the last.
Got taken over. Were you in that building downtown on the park, or was it out in Southside then?
It was out on Southside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you never got to experience that white mansion
No.
downtown?
I don't even know when it was in the white mansion.
Yeah, the first time I lived in Savannah was 2005 to 2010, and it was in the white mansion. So
that would have been incredible.
I guess you just missed it.
Yeah.
Is that so? Had you lived in Savannah before that, or did you move here for Armstrong?
I grew up in Effingham County in Rankin, Georgia, so only 30 minutes away. So it just seemed fitting to just stay in town, in town. Essentially, I didn't move too far. I was commuting for a while, for like the first 2 years, and then I moved to Savannah. I don't know, when I was 20, so 21 I think actually, but yeah.
Did you grow up coming to Savannah much?
A little bit, yeah, because Pooler wasn't like a thing yet, so you always just went to Savannah or downtown to like hang out.
And then when you moved here, you were sort of halfway through your degree. What was your sort of first impressions of living here?
Well, I lived on South Side, which I always wanted to move downtown.
Yeah.
But looking back, I'm really thankful I lived on South Side, because I probably wouldn't have finished school, because I probably just would have been really distracted. And also, I lived like less than a mile from the school, so it was just really easy commute to get there and to do like studio stuff. If I lived downtown, I probably would have like missed classes a lot.
Yeah, you just would have been wandering around taking photos.
Yeah, exactly. Which was part of my major, but
and then the idea of, I guess, commuting all the way out the South Side for school would be hard to make yourself do that.
It is, because living downtown now, I find it very hard to go to South Side for any reason. Like, it's a day trip. Like, I have multiple errands to run, and
I feel that way too. I feel very happy that you said that.
Yeah, no, it's like such a thing. And I feel like everyone in their little pockets, like, when I lived on South Side, it seemed like such an adventure to come downtown.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Yeah, I think it's funny how, like, if you live in a big city or just somewhere larger, that to go anywhere takes maybe like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and then after you're here for a while, the idea of driving for 15 minutes or 20 minutes seems daunting. The whole thing just gets shrunken down.
And it's crazy. After college, when I graduated, I actually spent like 6 months working in Alaska at a brewery. and I lived 2 hours from like a major store. Like there was like, you could buy snacks and stuff at like the gas stations where I lived, but like driving in 2 hours, it was nothing. I was like, all right, I'm going to the store next week. Like, who wants to come with me? And then like 5 or 6 people would go, and you'd have these like trips into town, and it was nothing. You would do it all the time, and it did not matter.
How did you, so from Georgia, you went to Alaska for a job in a brewery? How did that?
Yeah, I just
almost like you were studying abroad.
It felt like it, because it was just like in a different world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just needed something different, to try something new. So yeah, I went to Alaska to just work at a brewery, and that's like all I did, which was nice, and took photos and stuff. And
yeah, I was
like,
gonna ask if you did any
did
art
stuff
there.
like that. Yeah, and it's funny. I did film photography in college.
Oh.
And I have like probably a couple rolls of film that I have not developed from when I lived in Alaska, because I don't know where to go get it developed at. Like,
they might
it's
the nice, degrade by now.
I like truly though, they really might have. I mean, they've stayed in the canister, so I don't know. I might do that one day.
I feel like there could be a whole art exhibit where you like get them like people are there to see them developed, and you're experiencing them at the same time too, and the whole thing is like a performance art.
That's true. That's not a bad idea. I wish there was like places like get it developed.
I'm sure. I mean, you could mail it off. I'm sure they still have that, right?
Yeah. I mean, doing it myself, but yes, I can probably. I wish I could do it myself here, but I don't.
So when you were going to Armstrong, and I did want to ask you, in your bio online, you talked about that like in your first class, the pottery wheel was really hard, and you did not think you were going to be going in that direction, and then in the second class, the pottery wheel clicked for you.
Yeah.
So you were setting out to be a fine art major of some kind.
Yeah. Well, originally I was art education, and then I wanted to take more studio classes, because I actually didn't even do art in college, or I mean in high school. I like didn't do any art at all, so I just really didn't have that much experience. And then when I went to college, decided I was going to be an art education, but then I wanted to take more studio classes and get more experience in different fields. And I was like, I can always go get a certificate of teaching if I want, and do that if I really want to teach.
So from high school, you had not done any studio art, and then you start college intending to do art education, and you were going to take some studio classes just to understand the making of a bit, and then like away you were like, actually I'm doing this.
I was like, I'm just going to do this, and if I want to go back and do education, or I know in some state, like I think in Georgia, you can just go get a certificate of teaching. I mean, it's still like testing and like things you have to do. You can't, but you can, if you can get a job teaching in your field that you're educated in.
It's really interesting that you started out in studio just for like a little extra bit of enriching, and then went into that. Okay, I have kind of a dumb question, but I've always wondered about this. Is there a difference between saying something is ceramics versus pottery, or like saying somebody is a ceramicist versus a potter?
I feel like the difference is pottery is, to me, in my head, thrown on a potter's wheel, and whereas ceramics is more of like hand built, or it can be like decorative kind of stuff. Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest
Is there
difference, maybe?
Is there a schism amongst artists of what they want to become? Like, is one considered to be better than
I don't think so. But I do think sometimes, especially like starting out, people will be like, people will like learn ceramics and take like a class, and then like people just like want to do the pottery wheel. Like, it's like such a deep need for people when they're like first starting out. They're like, I just want to do the pottery wheel
because of the movie Ghost.
Like, probably some of that, and then it just seems like, I don't know what, like, I don't really know. Like, it just seems like you see people do it and it's so impressive, and then you're like, I want to do that. But it's pretty, like, I don't know, it's pretty hard to learn. Like, I did not, like, how I was, like, I'm going to do sculpture, because the wheel was so hard for me. So hard. And I even see people in, like, beginner classes at this studio that I go work at, Savannah's Clay Spot. I'll see like new students, and I'm just like, wow, they are getting it so much more than I remember.
Really?
Like, it was so hard for me. And like, I have also, like, sometimes I would use like clays that were not really good. Like, I understand more now. Like, I would, like, try to use, like, recycled clay to throw in the wheel, which is just so
and then
much
it just
harder. Like, yeah, it's just so much harder. It's way better to use that kind of clay for, like, hand building and stuff. And
you have to use, it's already hard enough. You have to, like, set yourself up for success using great material. Yeah. That is a thing I've read. So interesting. Somebody who was writing about when you're first becoming an artist, and at the beginning it's very frustrating because you have a certain level of taste or like a certain design skill in your head of what you want your piece to end up looking like, but you're not technically good enough to like paint it to look like that, and so you're producing these things that aren't as good as what you want, and it's really frustrating. And you have to, like, if you're gonna make, a lot of people maybe quit, but you have to push through, and then eventually technically you'll be able to paint the thing that you envisioned you wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I can really see. What is it, do you think something finally clicked for you to get the wheel?
Honestly, so I took the ceramics class, and then I took Pottery 1, which I think was just like the wheel class, or took the wheel 1 class. And that was still pretty hard. And I feel like trimming the bottom of the pieces and doing like the foot ring on the bottom was so difficult for me. And then honestly, like, looking at the pieces, they were probably fine from that class, and I don't even remember if I still even have anything from that time. But when I took the second wheel class, it was so much. Once I understood trimming is when it clicked. Like, when I was able to do that and center it again, like, it like clicked in my brain. And I remember at my first critique in that class, I had like 15 finished pieces. And Mr. Jensen, a professor, was like, "What grade do you think you would have, like, with all this?" And I was like, "Probably like a C plus." And he was just like, "No, this is like an A. Like, you've like the most stuff. Like, you worked so hard in just the first like 2 or 3 weeks." And I was just like, "Yeah, I guess." It was just like, it's just funny because people will like rate themselves lower than what they
you were trying to be
should.
honest.
Right.
Interesting. What is it when you refer to trimming? Is that so you do something on the wheel and you come up with this shape? Is it that the bottom isn't flat and you have to?
Yeah, it's whatever you want to do to the bottom. And usually I always wait like 24 hours to trim the bottom because it needs to be like a certain level of dryness. And with the studio I go to, it's not like open like 24 hours or anything. So I'll like usually like throw one day and then like let them dry, and then the next day I'll trim the bottoms, and that's like that like foot ring you get, and it's really partly there. It's partly there because like you need a spot that's not glazed so it doesn't stick on the kiln shelf.
Right. Okay.
So you like wax that when you go to glaze it. And
is that the thing where you have that wire, like it's like a garrote a person with like wire?
That's like the that's what you use to like take it off the back, which and they have like really cool ones now where they will have like some kind of like design on them, so when you take it off the bat, it's like already kind of trimmed for you almost. It's just like this like zigzag pattern. They're pretty cool.
I like this because I feel like I kind of roughly keep up with developments in new kinds of paints and surfaces, but I did not know that there were developments in the wires that we use for ceramics. So you finished your degree. Is it called studio art or is your degree in ceramics?
Bachelor's in Fine Arts, because Armstrong didn't have like a degree in ceramics or anything like that.
Specialized. So that seems like they'd be asking for a lot.
I don't even. They probably don't have a whole lot of specializations in that. And then my focus is in ceramics, and then it was also darkroom photography, but that's really just what I did like in my like thesis show or whatever. So.
I really miss it. I had in high school and then again in college, it was like long enough ago that it was darkroom photography, and I miss that so much. And I miss like the part where the hardest part for me was when you have your hands in that black bag and you're trying to take the film out of the canister and put it on the wheel.
Yeah, we had like dark closets that you would go into. Like there was a bag you could do. Yeah. But that was always harder than just going in a completely pitch black closet. But then that was also like terrifying to go in this dark closet into a dark, like you're going into a dark room into an even darker closet.
Pitch black.
Like, this is
so much of darkroom photography is just like the setup for a horror movie.
Basically, I'm just like,
why are there not more movies?
It's midnight. Yeah.
I wish in Savannah, I mean, there's just this one clay place, right? The Savannah clay spot to go to, but yeah, there's no darkroom photography places to go as a co-op. How cool would that be?
I know, it would be awesome. I think about it.
Yeah.
A couple times a year.
I'm trying to, everybody that I interview, basically, I'm trying to plant seeds in everyone's mind to be
Let's
like,
all get together.
We need to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Sulphur was doing something very briefly before COVID, where you could get film, you could go and develop film, which isn't quite the same as developing the prints, but like it's something.
So then half of it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I feel like once the pandemic happened, I think everyone just everything just fell, and it was.
It's true. It's taking years for people to kind of get back on track of what their grand plans were.
I thought that was such a cool idea. And also, I feel like I dreamed it or something. So I'm like, did that really happen?
You probably just hallucinated it.
Yeah, but I really thought it was a thing. I was like, that's such a good idea. Maybe I'm manifesting. I'm like, this seems to be a thing we do.
Honestly, if there were any center in town that's probably ready to do it, it would be Sulphur. So
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah. Okay, so in your pottery, in your bio, you talk about how you got really into surface decorating, and your pottery, it's very beautiful. It's a combination of some of it is like painted or illustrated on, and some of it is 3D elements that are kind of collaged on, and then some of it is cutouts into the piece, which I think I love seeing. It's like these three aspects or different ways of decorating on the surface. I think that you have all three of those.
Yeah, I in college started doing it's funny thinking, I don't even think I have anything from back then, but when I look back at it or think back on it, how far I've come in the carving aspect, because I would carve pieces, but it didn't flow together in a design that made sense. It was just all these bits and pieces, kind of just everywhere. But I love the carving's probably my favorite to do.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about. That that a lot of people, maybe they do the piece and you throw it and you form it and that's enough, and you glaze it and try not to break it when it fires, and then you have this whole extra step of the design of it in this 3D and the round thing is a whole extra thing to do.
And in college I feel like I was just so focused on getting things out that I didn't focus necessarily on the whole aspect of the design being together.
So when you finished your degree, were you at the level of kind of just starting to do these surface designs, and it wasn't? So was that what got better for you after college? Yeah, I was definitely at the beginning stages, but a lot of it is stuff I've built on pretty much my last I guess my art show, my final show at Armstrong. That's what you do at the end of your DFA, essentially. Was a lot very similar to the stuff I do now, but I've really it's definitely the beginning stages of that, but I'm still really proud of that work. I don't a lot of my stuff in college, I'm okay, I've built on it very well, but that I'm no, that was really good enough. You had already started.
So I've gotten a pretty good grasp of it, but now it's I've added different textures and I like that better. But also things are just you change so much. I feel from this year to last year, my stuff is so different, because I'll be oh, here's this new thing I haven't tried, let me try this. So
and what you're decorating your pieces with, it's a lot of kind of florals and botanical kind of designs, and then you talk about Art Deco. What is it about Art Deco that appeals to you?
I think I more so the straight lines and the patterning, and I feel I don't even do there was a phase where I was doing more Art Deco patterns on top of other patterns, which I do really like the idea of combining multiple patterns. I love floral and stripes together. I love that element. So then, or I'll do I did one piece that was like polka dots with like a flower design on top of that, and I really like adding those out. So I wouldn't even so much like the Art Deco is not as much as a style I do as much anymore as I got really into. I got really into it for a minute, and then like moved on to more like stripe patterns and different stuff.
What kinds of media? What do you look at to get inspired for designs?
A lot. I get inspired from clothes a lot. Like I'll look at people's people's clothes. Like I've taken pictures of people's like shirts at work. And been like, let me take a picture of that, please.
It's amazing. Just fabric design can be so cool for any other art.
Mm-hmm. And I love the combination of different like fabrics and stuff like that. Also currently I have been obsessed with like nail art. And I get a lot of inspiration from looking at different nail art.
Yeah.
So like I also love little mini things. Yeah. Like I do like mini pottery as well, and so I just feel like nail art is just like little pictures on nails.
Yeah.
Like sometimes and
to think about how precise you can be shrunk down to something like that. Yeah.
And then Pinterest, I just look at patterns on Pinterest for long periods of time. Cool. So
do you have a preference between like when you're working on pieces and some of them are you're drawing the design on them, and like you said, some of them is like little 3D pieces built up like actual leaves and flowers, and then some are cutouts. Mm-hmm. Is there anything of that, like does just different moods on different days that you feel like doing, or do you kind of work in series of things together?
Sometimes I want to get better at this, working on series of things together, because I think it would make my workflow so much better. But mostly when I do decorative stuff, I'll do it like maybe 3 or 4 at a time, and I'll make like I do these like tarot card mugs that I really like, and so I'll like throw the mugs one day, trim them another, and then maybe add the handles that day. And then I will I will kind of work on those 4 mugs kind of at the same time, but I'll probably finish one mug and then work on the next one. I'm not doing like the same process on things.
Oh, yeah.
Like an assembly line, which would make my life a lot easier if I did that.
Why do you think you're not doing that?
I don't know. I think sometimes I really need to finish a thing. I really need to finish it to move on, because I just feel like I'll get distracted and then not get back to it. Like I'm working on this, I'm working on like a picture right now with these flowers on it, and I cannot work on anything else but that picture. But I'm gonna do a mug with that same like design, so I'm like, it would be so much easier if I also worked on this mug at the same time. But I just can't, because I'm afraid if I do, I will not go back to this picture, and I'll just like.
Yeah, that is funny if you're doing if it's like the same design that you're doing on 2 pieces.
Yeah,
but
it probably makes sense.
Don't feel like you'd finish both.
Yeah, I'm like afraid. I probably would. I'm just afraid I won't.
Is it like because a long time ago in college you wouldn't?
Yeah, so it's probably the sculpture thing, like how I just wouldn't finish sculptures, and so now
you say
like,
you've PTSD.
Yeah, like essentially.
Maybe
and also I have a lot of things I don't finish, or like I'll get a lot of ideas. Like I really want to like try to make lamps, and I also want to make incense burners. And those are 2 projects, and then there's like this other project I'm starting to work on for somebody, and so I'm focusing on this picture project, not working on all the other projects, because I'm afraid if I start doing like the incense burner thing, I'll like get halfway through and then be like, okay, now I'm going to try this light idea, and then I just have this trail of projects.
Interesting. Is the picture taking a really long time?
It is. It's taken me like a month, so it seems like a really long time, but I've done a few other, I've thrown in stuff since then, so it's not like just this one thing.
It's just the shape of it is so new and weird that it's taking
forever.
forever.
It's just like it has all these like sculpted flowers, which I don't do as often, but I really, really love it. It just takes a lot more time.
Yeah, that sounds like this is a commission that you have for someone?
No, it's not even a commission. It's just like a personal,
you just like to do it.
January is like my personal project time, so like, it's something like that.
So it really is taking the entirety of January.
Yeah, basically.
Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
I'm almost done with it, so.
Awesome. Well, this sounds like this is a good time. We'll take a little break. And again, I'm here with Ashley Havy of Pashley Pottery, and we will be right back.
You are listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with a global soul.
Trees are one of Chatham County's most treasured natural resources. Beyond their beauty and cultural significance, the impact of trees are far-reaching and compounding, spanning from economic benefits to health improvements to climate change resilience. Trees are woven into every aspect of our lives. Savannah Tree Foundation protects and grows Chatham County's urban forest through tree planting, community engagement, and advocacy. More information is available at savannahtree.org. This portion of WRUU's programming is brought to you by listeners and by Brighter Day Natural Foods. Brighter Day Natural Foods has been serving Savannah's healthy food and supplement needs since 1978. It is located at the corner of Bull Street and Park Avenue. They have online ordering and curbside delivery available, and now a walk-up window for smoothies, juices, and sandwiches from the deli. They are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. More information can be found at brighterdayfoods.com.
What does it mean when we say that WRUU is a community radio station? It doesn't just mean that we invite the community to create programming, and it doesn't just mean that we're a voice for the community. It also means that we're counting on the community to keep us going, and you are the community. Almost all of our modest budget comes from small annual or monthly donations from listeners like you. You get to enjoy our community-focused programming because many others have stepped forward to do their part. Now do your part by joining our community of listener donors. Go to WRUU.org right now and make a one-time or monthly donation. And thank you for supporting Savannah's community radio station, 107.5 FM.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Arts on the Air. This is Tamara Garvey, and I'm here with Ashley Havy of Pashley Pottery. So much alliteration out of it. Okay, so at the break we'd gotten into where you were finishing your degree and sort of the like level that you'd gotten to with your work and getting into the surface decorating. And I'm curious how your transition from when you graduated, did you just immediately move into like continuing to make your ceramics and trying to sell it?
No, I think I took like a 1.5, 2 year break maybe, because I graduated in 2015, like that December, and then that's the summer of 2016, or that like April, I moved to Alaska for like 6 months.
Okay.
I spent like a summer there, and it was like adult summer camp. Like it was just
That's
fun.
so life
And,
enriching.
Like,
I mean,
it really
amazing.
was. I recommend everyone like find a seasonal job, because that's what it was, like a seasonal job. So there's like a lot of people doing that. And I mean, this place was only open during the summer, so it's too cold in the winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did that, and then when I came back in like the fall of 2016, I didn't really have anywhere to like work out of that felt like I didn't know where to get clay from, like to work on. I didn't have a way to fire it. Like I just and I at first was living in Pooler for a couple months, and then moved to Savannah, and I think I lived here for like a year before I started going to Savannah's clay spot. And I took a class there just because like to get like familiar with the studio, like it's always helpful to like take a class, and that was fun. And
was the studio new, or had it been open?
No, it'd been open for a while. Like I think it's been open for like 11 or 12 years.
Oh, that's
maybe
great.
At this point.
Okay.
I'm not positive, but yeah, I love going there, and I just started just doing stuff there. She fires everything, and then I didn't really start working from a home studio until maybe like a year or two, and now I have like my own wheel, and I have a very tiny jewelry kiln at my house, so that's nice. I can fire like up to like 3 mugs.
So it was kind of 2017-ish, and you just sort of gradually got back into making things.
Yeah,
and so did you just gradually, it became a business where you were selling?
I was working at Moon River at the time also, so they had like, at the time, like an upstairs space. I don't know if they still even do this.
They would do
but
painting, like
yeah,
art shows
they would
up
do
there.
like art shows up there. Like they had a couple that like SCAD students did shows, and then one day we were talking, and one of my managers was like, "You should do one here," and I was like, "Oh, like okay," and so put together some stuff, and then like had a little art show there, which was really fun. And I feel like that kind of like kicked off like me really going like diving deep into it.
Okay, so that was, I'm curious about the upstairs in Moon River for two reasons. Mm-hmm. First of all, it's supposed to be super haunted.
Yes.
Did any of your ceramics get
No,
knocked off?
I was about to say all my ceramics survived. I think I might have even only had it up for like the show. Like it wasn't even it was like kind of a one night thing. Okay. And so yeah, everything survived. If I'd left it overnight, who knows?
And then my second question is, I imagine it's very hard to, but you kind of answer this because it's one night. If you had an ongoing show, to get people to like go upstairs to see something, just from a business standpoint.
So they do allow, like, I mean, at the time, if you were serving like a table and it was really slow and you only had like one or two tables, you could take people up there to like kind of like let them see it and take pictures. People really like
the customers that you were waiting
yeah
on.
Yeah, but you only really did, it was very like it depended on like where that server, like not everyone would do it, so
is okay. So now, do you do your ceramics full time?
Not full time, no. I for a while was really like, I don't know if I'd ever want it to be full time because I don't want to lose like the love for it of like being stressed about being able to like make my bills. But it does allow me a lot of freedom within pottery itself. Like a lot of the times it just funds that passion, which I'm totally fine with it doing.
Yeah. What else do you work at?
I work at a public kitchen and bar. Also, which I like doing the both. I get to like talk to people and like sometimes get to tell people about my art there too, and like tell people about art shows going on around town, which because like tourists and stuff, I will sometimes do.
That's nice. It keeps you, and you're right downtown, so you're in the Savannah thing.
Yeah, and it's not far, so.
Yeah. Do you at the Savannah Clay Spot? Can you, if you're not taking a class there, is it like, do you sort of have a membership and then you're able to come and go how you want?
When you take a class there, and then you can, once you've taken a class, which you do have to take a class to be able to do the open studio, but then you can do open studio, and you can sign up for all that on her website too, which is really great. Makes it easy now. And then you can buy like the extra clay to work on like during your open studio time. And that is from like Mondays to Fridays. And I do actually work there on like a couple days of the week, like kind of monitoring the open studio. It's really just like being there. Yeah.
That's it. It's almost like you're sort of working off your fees or whatever.
Essentially, yeah.
So as far as like the pieces that you're making, so I saw on your website you have these very tiny pots, which is really cute. How did that come to be?
Well, I really love tiny things, and I don't know. I guess I just really was like, I want to do small versions of big things. Yeah.
And they're like an inch or two.
Yeah, they're
in either direction.
Yeah, basically.
Are
they're pretty
those
small.
Thrown on a wheel? Or?
Yeah, they are. They're thrown off the hump, which is like throwing like with a big piece of clay, but then you just throw off the top part of it, which makes it a little easier for centering than like having to center a really big piece of clay. You can just center just the top part and just throw that.
So you come up with like whatever tallness of vase, and then you just cut off the top.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I have a mini wheel, which is actually really hard to use. It's way harder than like a big wheel because the pressure of your finger can like stop the wheel. It's like I don't know, it's like battery run or something essentially, but it's still just like a novelty to have. It's like fun.
Yeah. And that's, so you some of your time you spend at the clay spot, and then you also have a room in your home that's your studio. Mm-hmm. What are the tasks that you do in your home studio?
I do a lot of the painting in the home studio. I will carve, but it's just so much messier, and I'm not as like clean, like where I will just sweep every day. Like I don't, I mean, I'm a clean person, but I don't like to have to sweep the studio every day, because you shouldn't have just like clay dust like just chilling. So because it's not good to breathe in, so you should sweep it every day.
And then another product you have, I know you have, they're ceramics, but they're earrings and necklaces. And I'm curious about this because I feel like in the past maybe I've hit sort of a rut with selling art and then felt frustrated. Like I'd been somebody would advise me, oh, you should just do your art as jewelry, and then people will buy it because women are always buying jewelry. And I've really dug my heels in because I've been like, no, I want to do art. Like, why should I have to make it into jewelry for people to buy it? So I wondered if you had any feelings about that.
So it's funny because I feel like I had this conversation with the jewelry artist where they used to do ceramics, but they started making jewelry because they would go to like markets and pop-ups and see how well the jewelry artist would do. So I totally get that sentiment of being like, but I don't want to do that. Like, this is what I want to do. But I really want to get like, I don't know. Well, for one, it's just an excuse for me to paint tiny things, which is also fun for me. I love tiny things. That works for you. And I get a lot of inspiration for that with like looking at nail art, because it's just tiny on tiny, and I'm just like, I really like it. But another one was but at first I didn't even think my jewelry was selling that well to be like, this is like supplementing making like mugs and stuff, because it like wasn't. But it'll go through phases where the jewelry does really well, and there's like markets where I don't sell like any jewelry. Partly I do also think it's like a lower price point, so that's another thing that I like wanted to have, like lower price point stuff than like the bigger pieces. But yeah. Was it interesting? So for jewelry, I can imagine also like maybe the first round of jewelry you make, you don't invest a whole lot of money into the ear wires and the chains because you're just starting, but it's like not great quality and it turns green or something. So if you're gonna do it, you have to like make this jump and start buying really good chains and stuff. Has that been a thing? So that's really funny you say that, because that has been my experience. I'm not saying, like, I don't know if that's everyone's experiences, but I used to get chains from like Michael's and stuff, which probably is not the best quality, but also I think the prices that I was selling it for reflected that. Like, you're essentially paying for the pendant itself, or like the earring itself, and not necessarily the the metal material. But I have started looking for different chains and stuff like on Etsy, and I've like kind of went through this phase of just ordering like a foot of a bunch of different. Also, I did not understand what the measurements for like what 1.2 millimeter meant in chain form at all, and so then I would order like feet of chains and be like, okay, this size is 1.2 by this, and it was like a really big learning curve when it came to chains. It's a whole different field. And it was a lot. But now I feel like I'm at the point where I really trust the person I did find. That I get most of the chains from like the same person on Etsy, and I'll like sprinkle in some other stuff here and there, but I just really love her quality, and so I've started charging a little more for the jewelry to account for that. You're in your like version 2.0 of the jewelry, where it's good materials. Nice. Exactly. Which I do think I like making. I'm more of an earring girl myself than necklaces, so I make a lot more earrings than necklaces anyways, but
did you have to buy the little tiny pliers and things like that?
Yeah.
And it's a whole different field.
It's funny, because I've always, I feel like, had like stuff like that, just like you collect things like that from art school even, just like you all of a sudden have pliers, but so I've grown that collection of like pliers and stuff that I've used, I have always been curious about with ceramics where like for fine art, you do a painting and there's a certain amount of time that it takes and you sell the painting, and then the prints are like, you're just keeping money, making money off the prints, and it's so easy. But with ceramics, every single piece is so much time and effort. And then how hard has it been for you to come up with prices that are like, you're getting paid enough for it, but people will actually buy it? I feel like I don't. I think I'm underpricing myself 100%, but like it also really depends on where you live and the area. Like, I feel like for where I live, maybe I can be on the higher end of like expensive, but at the same time for like things like when you're making it, when you're in it, you're like, this is taking me so much time. This is gonna be like $500, and then like at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I can't charge $500 for this. Like I would love to, but it's very hard to come up with prices. It's been easier for my jewelry because I feel like I can like batch a ton of it, and it's like I don't charge as much because I don't have to charge as much. Like I've had people be like, you should charge more for your jewelry, and then I'm like, I feel like I really like where it's at because it's like, it's fine. I'm doing fine on that, but
what are the products? Like, so you do a lot of mugs. And I guess mugs is a thing where people are only going to be paying a certain amount for it.
Exactly, and that like that's a lot of things. Like somebody's only gonna pay like so much for a bowl or so much for, especially like mugs or even like berry bowls, which berry bowls take forever.
Oh, and
really,
then cut out designs.
Yeah, then like you look at it and it maybe doesn't look. It takes a really long time, I feel, to attach two handles and then put all these holes, and then you need to smooth them out and make sure they're good. And then when you glaze them, you have to clean the holes out, or the glaze might close up that hole. Wow. So you just have to like be just mindful of it.
Yeah, interesting. Attaching handles in general is
like attaching one handle, it's like, oh my gosh, but attaching two, it's like, wow.
You never think about that. Like for ceramicists, that's the hard part.
And I undercharge for my variables than what they should be for sure. I feel like my mug prices, I like where they're at, but they are not for everyone. Like I don't think everyone like. People look, some of them are like $70 to $80, but they also have like gold luster, which is real like 22 karat gold. It goes on in a third firing. I have to wear a mask to put it on because it's toxic, and so there's like a lot going into that.
Yeah, yours are on the more elaborate side, decorative-wise. Like you mentioned the tarot or the horoscope ones, and I know design-wise there's a lot going on with that. So
and that's the ones I've been doing a lot of like gold too layly, and I love the way they turn out, but they're like price-wise not for everyone. Someone pick it up and be like, wow, $70, that's expensive. And it's like, I know. I've also paid like, maybe it's because I know the work that goes into it, but I've paid ridiculous amounts for mugs. That people would be like, what? But it's just what I love, and I know, and it's worth it. So.
Do you feel like, is that kind of the direction you want to stay in? Is doing these more elaborate things, or do you feel like you want to incorporate in your business a tier?
I do want to do like a tier of like, and I have ideas because I'm very specific about what I want them to be. I don't want them to just be like mugs that are just glazed. I have very specific idea and clay that I want to use, which requires me to do it more out of my home studio because it's not like a white clay. I do want to actually in the new year start using more porcelain, just because like I just want to try something new. And I do most of my jewelry is in porcelain clay, which I just really love how like white the porcelain clay gets. Even the clay I use now, I can see it still has like a creaminess compared to the porcelain. But
so going forward, you're gonna do more of the mugs and bowls and things. I guess that'll hold it down where you're not doing as much decoratively on them, because what's the point of painting the whole thing if
exactly. Or even like carving and leaving the white is just so nice. So,
so that's kind of sort of a new design-wise direction you're going in. And then as far as items that you're making, you kind of dabble in, you have some is it mobiles or like chimes or something? What did I say on your site?
No, I'm doing like I call them like chandeliers, but they're like they're just like small little hanging like light catchers almost.
Little crystals on them.
And I love making those.
You do a real variety of objects, and then you mentioned you're working on a picture right now that's taking you forever. It's like your magnum opus. And then you want to do, what was it, like little incense holders? Yeah,
I really want to do reverse incense, like flow, little burners, which like when you put it in, it looks like a waterfall going down. They look so cool, and I really want to like try making some. I've had that idea for a really long time. And I actually feel like this spring I'm gonna slow down on doing as many markets. I say that like every spring.
Yeah.
Because I want to like focus on doing other projects and doing bigger stuff like that. But
how frequently do you
we'll
do
see.
a market?
I feel like compared to some people, not that much. Like I have like, I'll do like 3 or like 1 a month or 2 a month. I feel like 2 a month, but then like when it's like November, I feel like I'm doing one every weekend. Or October, wow. I'm doing one every weekend.
Yeah.
But
so you do indoor and outdoor shows.
Mm-hmm.
How has it been for you, like setting out, designing your space with a tent? And you know, for ceramics it's different than paintings. You need pedestals and like surfaces.
Yeah. I have it set up now. Like one of my best purchases when I first started out was I had gotten these like crates that look pretty like kind of rustic, and it's great because I can like stack them into each other, and then I can put pottery into it, and then I just have like these stands that I just put on top of tables. I do want to build myself like a little shelf for markets also, because I don't have any shelving, but then in my head I'm always like, do people see the bottom shelf? Like what is like, you know, like is it better to have tables with like stuff on top? So
yeah, and also you never know, like there could be a dog or a child if something's really
100%,
knows what could happen.
100%. And I have had people like kids break stuff.
Yeah. Things are wild at markets. I've seen a dog sniffing around and then like lift its leg on someone's tablecloth.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you never know.
I feel like that happened to me at a market once.
Yeah.
Like with my tent. Like I think a dog peed on it. But I like didn't see it happen, so I wasn't sure. I just watched it. I was like
You're like, I suspect.
Yeah, I suspect. And it was like overnight for a night, so I'm like, who knows what happened overnight.
Yeah. I would imagine for me, if I do a market, like at the end of the day, if you know you've sold a lot of things and then packing up, it's noticeably lighter is such a good feeling. So I can imagine for ceramics, it really makes a difference if you sold a lot. Because you have to wrap everything. You have to wrap it so specifically. So if you have a bad market and you're wrapping the same number of things at the end, that must feel awful.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I really try not to. At first it was so hard, but I feel like I try not to take it personally when it happens. It's just like, it is what it is.
Yeah. I kind of don't travel too much for them, so as far as in Savannah, I kind of just do them really infrequently, because I never want to have the situation where like the same people are walking around and they come across my table and are like, ugh, it's that girl again. Like, I don't want people to have that reaction.
But I feel like that could be a bit of imposter syndrome, because I feel like sometimes I'll do markets, and even people who see me like a couple months before, they're like, oh my gosh, I got something from you. Like, I love seeing people at markets and they've like seen me before, like know my stuff, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is like, the thing I love.
And I find also from selling at various shops downtown, when somebody sees you at a market and they're like, this is a great feeling. When somebody's like, oh, I bought this at a store, and now this is, oh, that was you. So nice to finally to meet you and have a face. Is really sweet. Yeah. Are you selling anywhere in town?
I infrequently put my jewelry at Super Bloom. Okay. And it's like really close to that.
All right, so that's where people can see.
Yeah, and then that's something I want to do this year, and partly why I wanted to pull back from doing so many pop-ups, because I do want to get my stuff more in more stores. Yeah. I've had a couple people reach out, and someone reached out to me, and I have to dig through my email to find them, but I really want to be able to do that. And there was Locally Made Savannah, I think, has reached out.
I'm still there. It's been going great.
Yeah, and I really want to it's just the things like just take me so much longer. Like, I almost get a little jealous of people who can like have prints. I'm like,
I'm sure.
Really wish I could. I wish it was like.
It's so different.
It's so different because I can't really maintain like. And I do sell on my website as well a little bit, but it's really hard to maintain even that in doing markets, so I really don't keep up with my website as much. But I do really want to get in more shops and stuff as well.
Yeah. But right now, so local people listening can go on your site, and there is a shopping function they can just check out.
Yes.
And for pricing, I would think is just even harder for ceramicists too, because if you're selling in shops, you have to price it as such that you're only getting half of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really want to change. That's another thing, is my prices aren't really like equal to like what I could, like my mugs, sure, but like other stuff that's lower priced, not really equal to like what I should be selling for commission or wholesale prices. So that's something I think I need to change if I'm going to be doing both.
Yeah, if you're going to look at doing one. And so I guess you just really need to look at that new line that you're thinking of doing, where you put a little less time into it, and so you can price things more.
Or just like doing the things that just take me less time. Like whenever I do anything with like decal transfers, that takes a little less time. Sometimes it feels like I'm cheating, but
that sounds cool.
It's just a tool. So
no, it's a cool look.
Yeah, and if I'm ever like a project's taking me a really long time, I will just whip out be like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like one reason I like having the mini pots around is I'll be like, okay, I'm working on this piece that's taking me like a really long time. I'm gonna go make a mini pot and finish it and have one piece like finished so I can just mentally feel
great
better. And I usually use decals because it's just like really easy.
I think it's very smart.
Yeah, and that's partly why I have little pots around too. Because
I want to talk a little bit just about this whole aspect of like in ceramics, that at the stage where you're firing things, sometimes things just like break or explode or crack, and that's a whole aspect to it that we as painters don't have to deal with. Can you talk a little bit about how often does that happen?
So I always say ceramics is just like really the art of letting go, and that's just like you just have to like leave it to the universe, and you do what you can to prevent it. Like drying things slowly helps prevent cracking. I love seeing like little tricks that other artists do on like Instagram and stuff, but like plates have a really bad like cracking rate. They're like really hard. I don't make plates that often unless it's for like a planter. But drying them upside down can help prevent cracking because it helps prevent the air from getting to it so quickly. So it's more like the even drying, making sure the walls are even thickness. When you attach handles or anything really, making sure both clays are the same dryness is like something to consider. Like you don't want to attach a normally like fairly leather hard wet handle to an almost like a really hard dry cup. Which I do a lot. Like it's like, and then you have to like hydrate it like enough and like spray it with water and make sure it gets back to normal. But it's just stuff like you're just used to doing and thinking about. So it's like I do all that like calculating without even like.
Oh my god. Did you always finish your listing? Did you learn all this by the end of college, or did it take even longer?
No, just like even longer.
Wow.
I mean, making sure you attach things at the proper like dry level was definitely something I learned in college for sure. Because that's something like drill into you, and also you don't want things to be too thick. Like it can't be more than like 2 inches thick, or it'll just never get dry in that center part. And you can't really like, you shouldn't fire things that are wet. They have to be completely dry, and then you fire it, and then you get to glaze it, and then you fire it again. So you do have to, there is like a waiting period to make sure they're dry.
These are, and then it's like just the weather and the atmosphere and the climate you're in, how wet it is.
Yeah, it definitely affects it. Like people like, we're in really dry climates, like things will dry really quickly. And even like in the winter here, it's just like things seem to take forever to dry, which is crazy. But then also when it's humid, things take longer.
Yeah. I mean, even when it's winter here, it's humid. It's always humid.
That's true. Yeah.
Wow, all these things you're listing, this sounds like I'm like not a detail oriented enough person to do this successfully. This sounds insane for me. I can't imagine like internalizing all this and being able to do it. So I'm very in awe. Well, even more in awe now.
It's definitely just things you just like pick up along the way. It sounds, when you put it in a list, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But it's really just like not even things you always have to worry about. Like you don't often have to worry about your piece being 2 inches like too thick.
Yeah.
To dry. Like that's normally not an issue so much, except for like maybe when you're like beginning or doing sculptures, you can maybe get like bigger pieces. But yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's obviously aspects of when you're in painting and 2D art that we are just doing as far as like the paints we're using and then what we're painting on, that there's things that you know that you have to do to make it archival and ways to finish it to make it archival, and then attaching the hanging apparatus that is natural to me and I don't think about, but it still does not feel like it's not to the degree that you're talking about, because also it's not just gonna like explode or fall apart, you know?
And yeah, that's the biggest thing I feel like, when like the kind of biggest worry that you don't really have control over is, one, being at a public studio and like other people's pieces, which accidents happen, and especially when you have like all different kinds of levels, so you just do what you can. But the biggest thing I think is with glazing is where a lot of the like inconsistency happens, because glazing is just like all these, it's like chemistry, it's just like all these different chemicals and silica that combine to like make this like glass coating that goes over your piece.
So
and that's
each
I have
combination is different.
very little understanding of like actual glaze chemistry, so but I buy a lot of like commercial glazes, and you just combine them, but then also lately product like getting the materials, like certain companies are changing their materials because they can't get a material they need, so they'll change the chemistry and it'll just be something similar. So things might not necessarily turn out the way they always have turned out. And you just have to always like test your glazes and stuff like that.
But then it takes a certain personality to like be able to do this kind of art, because I'm listening to this and I'm like, oh my god, this is my worst nightmare.
That's the part that's like, that is the part that's like, you just but most people don't know if it's turned out the way you want it. That's the beauty of it. You really just have to shift your mind and be like, people don't know it was supposed to be this color, and people love the color it is. So I mean, I might not love it because it's not what I wanted, but other people will.
Just to kind of end with, Ashley, is there anything you want to tell us about where we can see you coming up? Do you have any markets booked or any new things that you want to tell us that you're working on to put it out there in the universe?
Really?
Hold yourself accountable?
I am working on something for the Circle.
The store?
Yeah, the store.
Cool.
So that's exciting. I don't necessarily need the accountability for that, but I am working on it. I feel like I need to, it's like, in the beginning stages, but I am doing Slam in April, which that's always such a fun market. I love doing Slam. So that's the only one I think I have set in stone right now.
Okay. Great. And we will. I always post people's website and Instagram and all that, so people can follow what you're up to. Thank you. This has been so fascinating and such a new field. And like I said, I think you're the first. Pretty sure you're the first ceramicist that I've interviewed. So I love all the vocabulary and lingo. Yeah, it's a lot. But just there's. I mean, even in like illustration, so there's so many things I wouldn't understand. So your whole just the whole like the art of having to let go of the final product. I feel like that's what we're taking from it. From ceramics. Essentially. But I was gonna say there are artists, ceramic artists out there who like they know what their glazes are gonna do. Like they have it down to such a science. That I feel like all levels of ceramics are like so different, and like I feel like I'm in that middle level, right? Like I feel like that's the stage I'm at. I'm like really good at the surface design, and I have that part. I have my process figured out, but like when it comes to like other glazing stuff, it's not my priority, and some people it is their priority, so it's just like different. I just had to see that too. That's just not where you've put your time and attention. Totally. But it sounds stressful, but it's not like stressful. It's all fun. Maybe someday I'll take a little beginner's class at the clay spot. You absolutely should. Letting go. Once you do it, it's like, and it's also such a meditation. Like when you throw, to literally breathe like you're meditating, and to focus on your breath and not on like, and just like work through it. And anytime I do that, it like helps so much. So I'm sure that'll help me. Like you should. It's so fun, and it's not at all scary. So thank you, well, everyone. This has been Ashley Havy of Pashley Pottery, and thank you so much for listening. Next up on WRUU, That Old Savannah Magic from 4 to 6 p.m. It's a variety show featuring Savannah history, radio theater, interviews, and music.
You are listening to WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with a global soul.